Thank you. Hi, everyone. So we talk about food, and you have food at the end. We promise what we deliver. So I'll talk about the aquatic food security in particular. We should start this presentation with when we talk about food security, where we have this population growth explosion. We already passed the 8 billion, and by 2050 we'll be 9 billion. And we all like to eat. Here in Singapore, I learned this term about what's to be a foodie. People travel for food, and people here love food. In order for us to continue to eat, we need to produce more, and quite a bit more. And on the good note, this population expansion has also been followed by increase in the middle class, and people have a greater purchasing power now than they had before. And they want to eat better. We want to eat better, right? And this eating better, for many people, comes into the form of having like more protein in the diet, like meats, and also seafood, which is seen as a very high quality form of protein, being like the most highly traded food commodity. In order to feed these 9 billion people, we will need to increase the production by 240 million in this time frame. So when the World Bank is looking attentively into it, and has, in response to the rise in food insecurity, has issued a recent report saying that one of the main issues concerning food insecurity now reflects on issues like inflation, war, issues related with the supply chain, fertilizer availability, and refugee crisis. And as we're talking about the tropics, we can find what's the issues of food security in different countries. And what we see from this is the main issues are in the tropics, of course, particularly in Africa. But Southeast Asia is blessed in terms of food, but not too far from here to countries like Timor-Leste, and there's this refugee crisis in Bangladesh with the 1 million refugees from the Rohingya group that had to flee Myanmar 5 years ago. And by kind of chance, I happened to go there, because when we think about food security, we say, what are you guys talking about? There's so many hawker centers, there's so much food available. Where is the insecurity? But not going too far from here. There's people living in different realities. So when I went there, I found so many homeless children in the streets, and they were begging for food. And I said, this is a totally different reality I'm not used to. So I've been quite active helping some groups there to feed the kids. And to bring back to the talk, what I'll talk about is that one of the staples of the protein is fish. So fish is very important, play a very important role in assuring this food security. What we see in all of these bars, the blue bars, are the increased fish consumption. It's going quite exponential, even though the population growth from 1950 is kind of linear. But this exponential growth is because in 1950 we used to eat about 7 kilos of fish per year, but now we tripled that. So we want to eat more fish, and population is growing. So how do we get so much fish? Well, the fishing vessels are going deeper in the ocean, because at surface and mid-waters, fish is gone. And we now, even going down the food chain, we are catching the little fish, the big fish that used to eat. All of that, you can see that there's this depletion in fisheries stocks, and an increase in the overfished stocks, and a decrease in the underfished stocks. So this leads to this figure that many of you know, that about 30 years ago we reached the maximum capacity that the ocean can supply in terms of seafood. That was about 90 million tons in 93, and ever since, even with more technology, use of sonar, satellite imagery, more powerful boats going deeper, we're getting about the same amount of fish. But how is this demand being met? So it's being met by aquaculture. And now aquaculture produces about half of all the seafood consumed in the world. So it is the fastest growing food production business in the world. The majority of production currently is coming from fresh water, like ponds, like species like the carps, tilapia, and catfishes. But the marine sector is also increasing quite a bit. And just to put into the regional context, Southeast Asia and Asia produces 90% of the aquaculture production in the world. The rest of the world is just 10%, with China being about 60%. And if you look at this figure on the right, it's the consumption per capita. See, seafood is very important here in Southeast Asia, and it's over 30 kilos per capita per year that's consumed. Just to put into a local perspective, well, regionally, so we could say we are the epicenter of global aquaculture production. Even though, like with other food items that we import, fish production is only 10%. And for just to illustrate for some who don't know, where is this fish being farmed? Well, it's farmed mainly along the Johor Strait, with farms in the west that farm more robust species because the water quality is not very good there because there's less flow. And we have like milkfish, mullets, marine tilapia. And in the east, we've got more highly prized species like the barramundi, the red snapper, the groupers, threadfin, pompanus, and some farms in the south. So what type of aquaculture is being done here? Well, primarily this coastal aquaculture, with the majority being the net cage farming. And new ideas are springing to improve this and to produce more with less space, which is not called the closed containment systems. It's pretty much, instead of putting nets in the sea, we put tanks on barges, and some of these are purposely designed for aquaculture with the tanks below sea level, with water being filtered before it comes to the fish and also filtered out before the effluent is discharged. And this greatly helps avoid situations like red tides. So we're seeing this development of these new farms, and it's unique in the world. It's being done here in Singapore. But also we've got some farms inland, like just the traditional pond-based systems, and tempo of vertical systems using multi-story in buildings and things like that. And some in the southern islands doing this common type of cages like we've seen salmon in Europe, that is the circular type of ponds. Okay, so two more slides, so bear here with me. We've got to ensure security. We have to produce enough in a safe manner. We need to make it sustainable. This means without pollution. We need to be shock-proof and be able to produce regardless of what's happening outside, which is very different. And one thing that sometimes we don't stress enough is that we must produce it ethically, and we are farming animals which we're going to eat. So I think we need to put a lot more emphasis in animal welfare. And just to wrap up, aquaculture, to achieve the destiny as the flyer in food, we need to produce more efficiently. And in saying that, the main issue is disease. About 40% of the production is lost due to diseases. So we need to be better at detecting and managing the health of the animals, develop better feeds, use systems multi-trophic, which means the waste of one system can be the input for the other, such as use of fish farming and macroalgae attached to it. We need to develop the people to produce all of this food, the fish, and we're trying to do our part here with the graduate programs, with a minimum environmental footprint and use of technology and biotechnology, as we'll see more of it. So this concludes my talk. Thank you very much, and I'm keen to questions at the end.